Greetings Australia, it's Sunday the 9th of June. It's just got 9:07. I'm missing the last Insiders with Barry Cassidy because we're reading the Sunday Telegraph, Australia's biggest selling newspaper. Now, as I am what to bang on in these videos, the climate is in a state of emergency that's being declared in an increasing number of countries. There's a trade war between the US and China, strategic competition. There's a possible outbreak of war in the Middle East, although they seem to have quietened down on Iran, but that's definitely something that would be good to know about, because if all you care about, like a Sunday Telegraph reader, is the price of petrol, that's going to be a real doozy if the Straits of Hormuz get closed. Anyway, let's turn our attention to Australia's biggest selling newspaper. And on the cover, quelle surprise, we actually have news. This is fantastic. Now, somewhat intriguingly, they're calling text messages, or SMSs, certainly I grew up calling them, TXTs. I'm wondering if this just means any form of short messaging, if it includes WhatsApp. Anyway, moving on. Headline, exclusive, AFP dismisses politicians TXTs in media raid. We don't want MPs. Big caps, we don't want MPs. Federal police officers were told to remove politicians' TXT messages from evidence being collected during a raid on Sunday Telegraph political editor Annika Smethurst. A senior AFP officer told investigators to ignore messages from two MPs discovered on Smethurst's phone. The TXTs referenced the article at the centre of the AFP investigation. Page 14. Something to look forward to. In the meantime, it's 4 degrees here in Canberra. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. So yeah, freezing cold in the Canberra bubble. I'm sure it's much warmer in the Shire, and the people are much nicer too. Except for all the racists. Judges disgust at taser hit on girl, 7. A man who tasered his 7-year-old sister tried to claim it was discipline rather than punishment. As you can imagine, the system did not respond well to that line of reasoning. Charities to check out of celebs. Charities are fed up with paying celebrities to attend their events and are refusing to use donor money to lure big names, with at least one revealing the move has resulted in some of Australia's best-known faces abandoning their event. Good. It's disgusting that people were demanding appearance fees for charities they purported to support and burnish their own image with that purported support. Now, apparently the celebrities who perform for free, so these are the good celebrities, are Danny Im, Vince Sorrenti, and Jessica Mauboy. Well done. Basic human decency, 3 Australian celebrities. I hope that this list is by no means conclusive. Okay, Linseed survivor, now drought survivor. Oh, now drought saviour. Okay. Linseed survivor Selena Winpy will devote her life to helping drought-ravaged farmers and their children as a way to thank Australians for banding around her. I wish Selena all the best, but I don't know. There's homeless people living on the street. Do you think these businessmen with millions of dollars in assets are really your first port of call? Oh, they are for a lot of people. Drink and drive risk too close to home. Half of New South Wales drivers think it's okay to drunk if they're on a quiet road. 1 in 3 say they drive home intoxicated because they need the car the next day, and half will do so because it's their only way to get home. Particularly if you've taken the dog anywhere and you can't call any sort of rideshare or taxi. Yep, so people manage risk. Ash is Destiny's Child. This is the Sunday Telegraph going to bed before Ash Barty 1, trying to still say something about her and keeping it open. Jimmy's our number 1 for fans. Jimmy Barnes is officially bigger than Madonna, U2, and Elton John. The Rock has created Australian pop chart history with his number 1 debut on his new album, My Criminal Record. It is his 12th number 1 solo album, eclipsing Madonna and U2. U2 not really a solo album, but sure. Anyway, good on Jimmy Barnes. The bits I've heard of this record do indeed sound like a welcome return to form. perhaps helped by Don Walker returning to the songwriting activities. Okay, now we're back to undercover cop wraparound true crime. It's basically just a giant podcast ad, and yes, there's crime out there and they're undercover police, and here is mundane stories of them going about their jobs. Well, here's a happy story of suburban bliss. Air confrontation at Camelot Court. Police have been called 100 times and made 30 visits to two city neighbours locked in a bitter suburban battle over the aggressive use of an air conditioning unit. Carlingford couple Nicole Lee and Neil Huang say their lives are miserable because of their neighbour Dr. Fatima Nazaran's cooling system, which sits between their detached homes in a Carlingford cul-de-sac named Camelot Court and sounds like an aeroplane engine mixed with a rubbish compactor. The couple, who have 3 young children, claim the air conditioning unit within 2 metres of their lounge room and less than 4 metres from their bedroom is being used aggressively. But 52-year-old grandmother Dr. Nazaran says it is my civil right to use my air conditioner. Yet if I forget to turn my air conditioner off at 10:05 p.m, the police are there at 10:30 p.m. Under New South Wales regulations, an air conditioner that can be heard in any habitable rooms of a neighbouring home must not be used before 8 a.m. or after 10 p.m. on weekends and public holidays, or before 7 a.m. and after 10 p.m. weekdays. Boy, yeah, if we're going to keep stacking people in like sardines, this is going to be a bigger and bigger problem. So, great. Right, Tinder driver rolls car. A driver allegedly rolled his car into a ditch while drunkenly swiping on dating app Tinder, prompting a call from police and a positive match with a roadside breath test. Wow, the man allegedly returned a blood alcohol reading of 0.188. So possibly Tinder was not entirely to blame, and the stonking blood alcohol could in fact have been the problem. Let's see, party bus catches fire. 16 people were forced to flee a party bus when it caught fire early yesterday. No one sustained any injuries. So the headline is really all we needed there. Dr. Sleaze struck off. Sydney specialist doctor who drugged and sexually assaulted a junior doctor has been struck off the medical register but has managed to keep his name suppressed. Of course he has. That's how the system works. Israel Folau has sent letters to every Rugby Australia board member demanding answers about how confidential details from his code of conduct hearing were published by the Sunday Telegraph. I'm past caring, they're all horrible. Right, Meghan Markle's made her debut at the Trooping of the Colour, not on horseback. Right, page 14, Annika Smethurst. Look, if you want to know the life of a journalist, look no further than that kitchen belonging to senior political editor Annika Smethurst, which there is nothing wrong with it, but this is not a person earning a lot of money. Senior editor, country's biggest selling newspaper. Cheapest oven on the market, and I say that with some knowledge because I've got one just like it. It was about 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning when I heard a knock at my door. So this is just Annika taking us blow by blow through getting raided. Apparently she was in the middle of quilt making, which was disturbed. Quilt making for friends with new babies. That'll get the mumsies of Australia up, won't it? Senior officer told underlings, we don't want politicians. Underlings? AFP officers are underlings now. Federal police officers excluded politicians from the hunt for sources during their raid on Annika Smethurst's home this week. Yeah, they are the ones who leak the most. Ben Pike's editorialising to change the laws to shield sources. Right to know, acts we want fixed. Now, these are all about protecting journalists, not protecting anyone else in public. Which I don't mind more protections for journalists. It'd be nice if they're a little less self-serving and self-obsessed. Yawning gap in benefits. Health funds gouge members as they freeze rebates for years while doctors' fees increase. Yes, private health insurance is a scam. Big advertiser in the Telegraph though, so they can't come out and say it. Sydney has fog. I had a heart attack talking to my boss. This is real parish pump stuff, isn't it? The Gold Appeal, Miracles of Life. Sydney Children's Hospital Gold Appeal has a page. Looks like an ad to me. Cancer's News. 2 pages of Harvey Norman. He's hoping that shifts more stuff than Clive Palmer got seats, eh? Samsung 43-inch for $6.95. Not bad. Yeah. Wow, hang on. TCL, which is not a bad brand in my experience, a 65-inch for $9.94. There's your real news. 64-inch for $100,000. Just need some stimulus package, don't we? Right, the source is down to a quarter page. Annika Smethurst has managed to put in for that. Along with her super best friends Linda Silmalis and Miranda Wood. Wentworth MP Dave Sharma knows how to navigate the public service so successfully that he's held government positions such as the ambassador to Israel. So it's a mystery why the doctor turned politician couldn't figure out how to get a temporary parking permit from Sydney City Council to avoid getting fined for parking outside his eastern suburbs house. MP gets parking ticket. Lead item, the source. Albo's off tap. Anthony Albanese does, of course, have a beer named after him from the folks at Willie the Boatman, who are quite good guys. I've met them. Right, Pat McInerney, one of the founding members of craft brewers Willie the Boatman, said sales had increased more than 100% in the days after the federal election. 6 local pubs even contacted the brewer on the day after Albo took over the Labor leadership to request more kegs and cans to sell. 6 pubs. Yep. I mean, you know, Albo's Corn Ale is not a bad drop, but we barely have enough zeros to express the tiny percentage of the Australian beer market it represents, as evidenced by 6 pubs calling to want it on being remarkable. Back to Annika. As police raided the home of the Source's own Annika Smethurst this week, officers faced a few questions about consistency. Smethurst was interested to know, and is writing in the third person, one suspects, whether the force was as thorough when looking into alleged hacks against cabinet ministers. In December 2017, Greg Hunt called the FFP to investigate a hack of his Twitter account after it liked a hardcore porn video. The attack on Hunt came just months after former Defence Minister Christopher Pyne's account also liked a gay porn video. Officers were tight-lipped as Smethurst fired a few questions of her own about whether they would also examine the phones of Hunt and Pyne. We don't expect it to happen anytime soon. Indeed not. Peter Gosgrove has worn his uniform for the last time as Governor-General. Hooray for him. Apparently, Australian men are getting more laser treatment to remove hair so they can look prettier at electronic dance music festivals. It is nice to see that men are finally catching up with women with body dysmorphia. For too long, we've languished in just being comfortable slobs, and now we too can be miserable. Right, here's an ad from the Real Estate Council. Home Alone Home Loans. You don't have to be a couple to get a mortgage. Anyone can enjoy a mortgage and property speculation. Why not? It's the only industry Australia's got aside from digging stuff up and polluting the planet. Right, breathalyzer developed by Sydney scientists could save diabetics' lives. That's cool, that's good. Breath ketone analyzer will help people living with diabetes detect incidences of ketoacidosis, a life-threatening medical emergency that occurs when the body produces high levels of blood acids called ketones. This life-threatening condition is also what a great number of people, including my partner, try to induce as part of their keto diets. Boy, I'm going to enjoy taking this to the next room and pointing it out. Good works. You paid for yourself, Sunday Telegraph this week. For the record, I should note that I am diabetic, albeit with a very starter's grade level at the moment. my partner has tried to get me on the keto diet, and I said, that seems like really dangerous stuff from everything my doctor told me. And now it is in fact confirmed. Right, The Snitch, Law and Order with Ava, Benny Morrison and Brendan Hills. Have you noticed the number of hyphenated names journalists are having these days? It's because only very rich kids can afford to slum it in journalism. Unpaid internships need a lot of family support. It reads like a plot from a 90s rom-com. Bride-to-be sends engagement ring to be resized days before the nuptials. Sydney jeweller accidentally sends ring, a priceless family heirloom, to someone else in the mail. Panicked jeweller has no record of recipient's name. Chaos ensues. Probationary constable Penny Panicalau, who was working at Waverley Station on March 26th when a distressed couple came in to report a half-theft, half-missing item. The idea of walking into a police station when it's nothing to do with the police, it's kind of touching that people do it. And there's all these stories about people calling Triple O for shows not being on telly. I just don't get the sense of entitlement. Having said that, I've also tried to report serious assaults at a police station, and they didn't want to know about that, so why would they want to hear about my ring? So it turns out, if you're the right sort of middle class, the police will indeed help you find your ring and track down the last 4 digits of the credit card with the bank. So with the help of the bank, they found the unintended recipient's identity. Racing against the clock, the jeweller went to Bathurst, personally collected the ring, and jumped on a plane bound for Queensland. He delivered the ring to a very grateful bride. If you're the right sort of person, the world rearranges itself around you, doesn't it? Yeah, astonishing. I mean, great that the police were able to help someone, but yeah, wow. So Trevor Picker, a legend of the Australian wool industry, has died aged 91 in a car crash. So the Telegraph reports that Mohammed Noor, who killed Justine Damond, has been sentenced to 12 years. There are issues surrounding race that have a lot of nuance that I'm not even going to try and go into here. The dude did kill an innocent woman, and for me 12 years probably sounds about right. The fact that if a white policeman had killed a black woman, or if a white police woman had killed a black man, this might have been treated differently. We probably best not to complain too much about how things aren't done properly in other cases, when at least something appears to have been done properly in this case. And I realise that's not a perfect solution, but frankly, I'm just sitting in a couch in Australia, so I don't have a lot of input into the American justice system here, so let's keep moving. Seafood's still a star in winter, so the seafood market's advertising budget goes on. Police have appealed for help after a man was seriously assaulted in Burwood. If you saw some bad stuff in Burwood, contact the police, because there's no real other details going on there. World news. I want my victims' bodies to be found. So this is Samuel Little, who's possibly the most prolific serial killer of all time, and not a very well-known one. More than 60 killings in at least 14 American states have been linked to a 79-year-old California inmate who may be the most prolific serial killer in US history. Ector County District Attorney Bobby Bland. What a great name. How did the Bland parents say, you know what, Bobby is really going to rock this guy's socks? Said Samuel Little continues to cooperate with investigators from around the country who interrogate him in prison about cold case killings dating back to the 1970s. Among those who spoke to him were investigators from Ohio, where Little grew up, and he's suspected of killing at least 5 women. So Samuel Little, that's a name to look up, I reckon. Terrorist threat in Times Square, which is abbreviated as Times SQ terror threat. Hooliganism on the high sea, that's the Russians and the Americans playing dodgems in the East China Sea. We'll know the truth in 20 years' time if we're lucky, if anyone cares to dig into it, but the Americans have been shown time and again to lie about these things, and the Russians are no more honest, and they're both pointing fingers at each other, is all you can really say. Theresa May has gone. Lesbian attack arrests. So police have arrested 4 teenagers on suspicion of attacking 2 women on a London bus because they were lesbians. I have been beaten up on a London bus, and it wasn't because I was a lesbian, it's just because they were drunken hooligan assholes. Having said that, this one seems to have shocked people and something's been done about it, so that's good. It's not good that they were beaten up at all. Not saying that. Just saying it's not necessarily gender-based violence on or sexuality-based violence going on those buses. It's just a lot of violence going on those buses. So now we've got a lift out for the Matildas, France 2019. Play it again, Sam. Right. World Cup. Okay, back to rugby league. Robbo's Rage. Horse racing. Okay, lots more Ash Barty. Horse torture. It's amazing they need to print all these little form guidey things when we have the internet to give that sort of detail. But I guess when your audience is as old as the Sunday Telegraphs, some of them don't know how to... Oh, just wait till they figure out how to work one of those betting apps on their phones. It's going to be a revolution for those guys, isn't it? I mean, have you ever walked into a TAB? They're some of the most miserable places on earth. I will say the staff have always been very pleasant. More Ash Barty, more rugby league. Apparently booing just lifts Ablett. That's good. Crickets. Brumbies have beaten the Waratahs as a lifelong Brumbies fan. Huzzah. Go team. 35-17 win in Sydney. Will it get the crowds back to Canberra Stadium? The Brumbies have a lot of rebuilding to do with the community that would involve them first acknowledging they did anything wrong. Jessica Halloran, Almighty Dollar. Israel Folau has a long history of chasing the cash and flip-flopping on his word his entire career. Ooh. Just don't care. More on the Matildas. I mean, it is good to see the Telegraph really embracing women's sport. The fact that I imagine a lot of the games are going to be on Foxtel, I'm sure it's nothing to do with it. The Sky News page. Here madness lies. Why there must still be limits for leakers. Peter would know a lot about leaking. Peter Credlin. Unlike most in the media, I've had a national security clearance as the chief of staff to a prime minister, the highest classification you can hold. So Peter Credlin's banging on about how public servants who leak stuff are terrible. I would be willing to bet large sums of money that in the order of 1 in 20 leaks is a public servant grinding a political axe, and the rest are ministers or minister staff. I'm just going to put that out there. Woke acts are old news. Right, if the recent election showed us anything, it's the Australians have a very limited tolerance for extremes of political correctness. But far from waking up to themselves, our woke activists are doubling down. So Scott Morrison won a 1-seat majority. I don't think that's a reflection on anything in particular. Having said that, extremes of all sides and perspectives can be pretty repugnant. I'll grant you that. All right, Peter Gleeson is running against Peter Credlin on the Sky News Nutters page, saying freedom of the press is a vital pillar of our society and must be defended. Except we kind of let the whole media diversity thing die in a ditch in the last 20 years as journalism has been eaten by callow tech startups, which, you know, I made a living for many years being one of. So I'm not all down on callow tech startups, and I don't think the media golden age before that was that golden, but we've allowed the media industry to be shredded, and a few police raids are the least of our worries on that front. So, the editorial, raid outrage about brave whistleblowers. So, Peter Credlin at odds with the editorial page there. Law for kids, so they want tougher laws for... So, they're objecting that he was charged with... So, this is the 7-year-old getting tased by their brother. Who was a 29-year-old. So, a 22-year-old age difference between a brother and sister is an intriguing family situation. Anyway, they want tougher charges for that sort of thing, and in general, who can disagree with that? So the cartoon is a Warren one, with cops telling journalists how to write the stories. Yeah, we're nearly done. Health hacker, how to avoid the flu. Don't go out in public. Real estate tips. No sale for Nova's Whipper. So a breakfast radio star has pulled their home from its midweek auction. I gotta say, for a breakfast radio, even a so-called star, to have a $2.5 million home, they've done well, because those radio bods do not get paid well at all. You think Annika Smeta's kitchen is a bit down market. Obviously not compared to Whippers, but... Right, Insider is reviewing movies, and yeah, so apparently Dark Phoenix is a, I was going to say dog, but I don't want to be casting those terms on Sophie Turner, so it's just not a very good movie. Interesting, Jennifer Lawrence has been given the top billing now. There seems to be some move around there. There's a Tolkien movie out that's getting 3 stars. Father of Fantasy plays it safe. So an Australian film stills photographer Jason Boland is sharing his secrets for taking iconic still shots in movies. Should be quite tricky getting all the CGI in, wouldn't it? So look, as usual, there's a lot of so-called gossip, which is mostly people just pumping themselves up by their publicists. Probably billing charities for appearance fees afterwards. And that's the Sunday Telegraph. It's nice that couple got their wedding ring back, isn't it? Not one story there about the human beings sleeping on the cold winter streets, but CEO Sleepout's coming up, so we'll get to see some really wealthy people wearing branded beanies for one night of moderate discomfort, and I'm sure that will be well reported, and that's much more interesting, isn't it? And on that note, I'm going to say thank you and goodbye. Now, if you've made it this far, you must be enjoying this. If you can hit the like buttons and the subscribe buttons, it is enormously helpful to me, and it makes me more likely to keep on doing this. So, mutually beneficial. Come on, people, help me out. All right, cheers.